Luis Diaz was the final one I wanted to talk about. I think you both mentioned that there's potential for him to move on this summer. I think not necessarily because of his performances, but because of his age, because there's interest there. Would you sell him? And if so, how much would you look for
him? Well, going back, you go.
Well, I mean, I think he's probably sort of fabricated some of these links himself, as his dad has, certainly, with the comments that he's made about wanting to play for Barcelona. There did seem to be a lot of talk about him potentially getting a move away a couple of months ago. It seems to have gone a little bit quieter now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does stay. I think with his age and everything, taking everything into consideration, I think 50 million comes in, you'd probably take it. 60
take
million.
Your money back for
him.
You'd
take your money back. I think the interesting thing is the only place that I can really see him going is Barcelona. And they've obviously PSG maybe. Barcelona obviously been quite heavily linked with Nico Williams, who's certainly someone I'd like to see at Liverpool. I don't think that'll quite happen, but obviously if they make a move for him, then that sort of shuts that avenue off. So then it probably is only PSG, who I'm sure have other targets as well. So I don't know. I'm not sure I can really see him leaving under those circumstances. But
Kiefer, I think if PSG come in for him, then you can have a conversation about upwards of 60 million, get towards 70 million. I think with Barcelona, it's probably they'll offer you £5 up front, training ground, 3 players, pay you off over 12 years, and you get a back rub from
Lamine Yamal's autograph.
Someone, it's one of them, is it, with Barcelona, where I think it could get very tricky if they come in. But I do think if there's one player to leave out the forward line, it's probably primed to be him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about transfers and stuff earlier. As Beth said, this is a bit of a domino effect, and it feels like PSG is still to make that move, to replace Mbappe. So, maybe that'll come in motion now, and whether Barcelona get dragged into that somehow and end up with Diaz, remains to be seen. But yeah, it's, as Beth says, it kind of feels like this interest has kind of just been around for ages, and I kind of feel like I'm just waiting for Diaz to go now. Like, I don't really expect him to play for Liverpool next season, which is a bit mad because there hasn't been, Liverpool haven't reported, there hasn't been anything reported in terms of like formal bids or interest or anything. But I always find, like, with the South American players, it almost feels like a matter of time before they are going to play for, one of the big 2 clubs in Spain. And certainly Diaz's dad, as Beth says, has kind of made it clear amongst doing all his other activities that he does. He's made it clear that Diaz would like to play there. But I just think he was so exciting, wasn't he, is when he first came and kind of the boost he provided Liverpool for that 2022 season. And then, through no fault of his own, that injury is just really taking its toll on him. And apart from the game against Manchester City in March at Anfield, I can't remember a game where he's looked, anywhere close to the same intensity that he had before. I just think he looks like a player who's kind of mentally scarred by that. And which is obviously understandable. He did the injury once, and then it reoccurred in the training camp. There's probably an element of him still holding back, but when he first came, I really did think that he reminded me of Marnie in terms of how he could beat him. And I remember in the League Cup final, how he toyed with Reece James, and you were thinking, just add goals to your games, and you've got a star here. But it just maybe feels like that boat has maybe gone, and Liverpool will be, how old is he, 27, 28? Liverpool will be in a good position to get their money back.
I disagree slightly in the sense that I think that he is quite influential in how Liverpool plays. He stayed fit pretty much throughout the entirety of last season. He receives a lot of the ball, and I think you can rely on him more than you can rely on through different reasons. Nunez, Jota, and even Salah at this point in time. But yeah, I just think he's probably primed to move on.
I think as well, our perception of what wingers should do has maybe changed a little bit. I mean, I think in the game in general it has, but I think certainly for Liverpool, because of how prolific Salah and Mane were, we now expect our wingers to score 20 goals a season. And I think the way Liverpool have played the last couple of seasons has changed a little bit. Obviously, Mane's moved on, and now it's maybe more of an onus on whoever's playing centre forward, or the Bobby Firmino role to get those goals. And because Nunez hasn't consistently been able to do that, then you do look to your wingers to start chipping in with goals.
I think the thing is with Diaz is, like, I completely agreed. I've had that conversation before where, like, the perception is skewed of wingers, but I think with the position Diaz gets himself into, he's really easy to be scoring 20 goals a season. I mean, that game against City,
misses a lot of chances.
The one at United a few weeks later at Old Trafford right at the death. I mean, it's not like he's a Jack Grealish, say, or whatever. Like, he picks the ball up deep and he brings it forward, but he also gets in the box and finds himself in a lot of one-on-ones coming in, making those kind of runs from deep. But he just, for whatever reason, his final ball or his final decision is just always wrong, or he doesn't connect with it right. And don't get me wrong, he has had some decent moments, and he's been instrumental over the last couple of years. But I just feel like you go back to saying you need to be ruthless, and will Manchester City put up with that or whatnot? Yeah. I think something's got to give in the forward line, and whether, I don't think you can afford to have Nunes and Diaz, two lads who might score one of the 10 chances they get. The owners can't all be on Salah.